All right, so we're back with Paul Banca, and she's sharing some awesome tips. And so, in the first section, we kind of talked about how to the mindset part of it. But now let's take you out of the mindset. And now, once you get your mind right, then you actually have to start preparing for your speech. So, Prue, let's talk about that now. What are some of the ways you want to structure your speech before actually going on stage? What do you want to work in your speech? How do you become relatable? What are some ways you work through your fears? I know I threw just a bunch of questions at you, but I know you can
Yeah.
answer them.
Okay. So we've got to manage the mindset, go in with the right mindset. But you know what? Visualization is great. Knowing that the audience are on your side, that's great. Doing all the power poses, they are great. But there's no shortcut to learning public speaking. So you've got to put in the work. You've got to put in the practice. And if you're somebody who would just not put themselves out there and actually go and deliver a speech, this is a skill which will be hard to master. I mean, it's not a quick fix. Yeah. So the work needs to go in, and that's where learning how to write an effective speech and deliver an effective speech comes into picture. So one of the key things I like to tell my coaches, my mentees, is that they've got to understand what is it that they want to achieve out of their speech. There are various things that people can achieve out of their speeches. For example, they can be solely informative speeches. I have this iPhone 6s with me, and if I do a presentation on an iPhone 6s, tell you features of this great phone, then it's an informative speech. Yeah. Let's say I share with you how beautiful the morning was, the beautiful sky and the rainfall and the snowfall. No, just an engaging story. I might actually try and engage you with my story. That's the second thing. Yeah, no other agenda, just to engage you. The third thing is the inspirational speech. Yeah, my favorite is Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream." I think it was a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant speech. It changed the world. We know that. Yeah. So inspirational. The fourth thing that people can try and achieve out of their speech is to persuade other people. A typical sales pitch. Yeah. So I do a talk on iPhone 6s, and I also want you to buy it. So it becomes a sales pitch. Yeah. But what is amazing about understanding what is it that you want to out of your speech is that it is often not just one thing. Yeah, it is often a mix of all the things. Let's say you were doing a speech about a talk in your local community center about a cause that you're really passionate about. Let's say taking care of animals. Now, your speech can have all the four elements. Yeah, you can inform people about animal cruelty. You can entertain them and engage them with some sad stories. And when we use the word entertainment, engaging in respect to public speaking, then it's not just funny and humorous thing that we are talking about. Any kind of connection that we do qualifies. Yeah. Then there can be inspirational speeches wherein inspirational aspect to your speech, wherein you can, let's say, talk about somebody who has built up a ranch and they rescue animals. So it's going to be a very inspirational aspect to it, or maybe that's what you want to do. And number four is you let's say need help to be able to build up that ranch because it's going to cost money. So you want people to make some donations. So you can still have the same speech. It's the same cause. It's the same passion, but you can have all the elements. And why it is so important to understand what is it that we want to achieve is because unless we know what we want to achieve out of what we are speaking, we'll not be able to get there. We'll just be all over the place. So I think, yeah, having that clarity is very, very important.
So are there any sort of mechanisms that whether or not you want to do a persuasive speech or informational speech that you want to include? Like, is there any like baseline information that you want to include as you're preparing your speeches, regardless of what your goal is?
Okay. I would say that, yes, later we can start specializing into inspirational speeches or persuasive speeches, but any good speech will have few basic elements. It's like you cannot build a great building unless you don't have the foundations in place. So as far as writing an effective speech is concerned and delivering an effective speech is concerned, you've got to have those basics. And then you just play on what do you want more, what do you want less, what do you want to add, what do you want to take out. And you go from there. So, for example, understanding what is it that you want to achieve is very, very important. The next thing I would say is, which is very, very important, is to understand who you are writing for. Now, typically as a speakers, because the assumption is all of us are great people, we want to give value to our audience, we want to do a great job, and it's a great thing to want to do that. But what happens is a lot of times that just puts us into our experts space, and we just go on and on about what we know. Yeah. And it is very easy to forget what is it that the audience needs to know. So the second point that I would massively emphasize on, is to find out what your audience requires. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean that you dilute your message or you just churn out what they want to hear. No, what I'm saying is, in the whole gamut of the topic, if there are, let's say, 20 things that comprise a particular topic, then look at what is relevant to your audience. Don't go blah, blah, blah about what you want to speak or what gives you pleasure. Yeah. Because you're a speaker who's out there on that stage, making that speech, that talk for your audience. If the audience doesn't derive value, then you haven't done your job as a speaker. Yeah. So speak for the audience, not for yourself. And when we get that understanding, when we write a speech and deliver a speech from our audience's perspective, that's when we actually succeed. Does that make sense? Or would you want me to?
Makes total sense.
Do you want me to give an example, or do you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah, if you want to give an example, that's fine. But if not, you can move on to the next one.
Okay, let me quickly share this example, because I think this is one of the points where people really get it wrong. About 3 years ago, I was the key speaker at a fundraising event. Yeah. And we were raising funds for a massive cancer charity in London. We were looking at raising about £30,000 on that particular evening, which is actually a lot of money from one fundraising event. And I was the only speaker who had to do the inspirational aspect of things. The rest of the speakers, there were lots of speakers, but they were more from the management, and I was doing it for a particular charity. I said it was a cancer charity, and those people had looked after me when I was going through cancer 2 years before the event. Yeah. So now there were 2 ways in which I could have handled this speech. One was to tell this audience how massively brave and courageous I was. Yeah. And how I came out of the whole cancer trauma, and look, I'm standing here and delivering this speech, blah, blah, blah. If it would have won me accolades, it would have won me their appreciation, but I'm not so sure how well it would have translated into the funds that evening. So what I did was, I just stepped out of my ego. Yeah, I used my story in the background. And as far as that cancer charity was concerned, I made them the heroes. Mm-hmm. So I said, look, this is what happened to me. This is the intervention. These are the heroes. And look where they have helped me achieve, where they have helped me reach. Because people in the audience didn't really need to know what I did. They really needed to know if investing with that cancer charity would be a good investment of their money or not. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Total sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I framed my entire speech, bringing them out as the heroes, because that's the part that the audience needed to understand, I was able to achieve what I wanted to achieve. We did over £50,000 that night. So it was great. It worked.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Yeah. Step out of your own ego.
As you were preparing for that speech, when did it dawn on you what angle to take with your speech? When did the aha moment come to you, like, okay, I could talk about this, my personal experience,
Yeah.
or I can talk about the charity and how they impacted me by
Yeah.
being so supportive, by whatever, however they supported you?
Okay. So I kept going back to the question, what would the audience want to know? See, it was a very clear objective that was laid out in front of me. I wanted to inspire I wanted to inspire people with my story. And at the same time, I wanted to persuade them to part with their money. And it was quite a bit of money we were looking at. And I did feel this enormous pressure and anxiety on my shoulders. I felt as if I had the weight of the entire world on my shoulders that evening. That's the feeling I had. So while I was preparing, I kept going back to this basic question: what is it that they need to know that will motivate them to part with their money? Yeah. And I think answering this question was the toughest bit. It was the most challenging bit because I knew that I had to get this right. Because if I don't get this right, then I may completely go off tangent. And so what I thought was the only thing that they need to know is that this is a great organization. It's a great cause and it's a great organization. Yeah, because they are going to help people, and I should be a real case study for them. So from a space where I was totally messed up to where I was doing good. Yeah. And these people are going to be the heroes in between. I will just be the facilitator. So with that approach, I went in. And yes, when we keep on going back to the same question, what is the audience that they need to know? We will do our job right. And we can extrapolate this question to, let's say, our work situations. So if, let's say, we have a presentation before the senior executive management, what is it that those guys need to know out of the entire thing, the entire topic that we need to tell them? They probably need to know the numbers. They probably want to know what challenges. They probably want to know what we'll do next. Yeah. So customize. So different audiences, you can still be talking about the same topic, but you would still talk about, let's say, different slices from the same topic to different people. So that's what I'm talking about.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So let's in this last section we're going to talk about. So you have you have the mindset, you have your speech kind of mapped out, you know what direction you want to go in. The rubber hits the road when it comes to delivering the speech. That's what we're going to talk about next.